I was recently talking to somebody in Second Life about slavery, and talking about how people used to be basically slaving away, as the expression goes. I think the term slavery has changed a lot in the last several hundred years. People don't realise that if you're working basically just to survive, and you don't have the freedom to move around wherever you want to go, and I mean, you've got to get a license for this, you've got to get a license for that, you've got to get permission basically to go on an airplane to go to a different country. We are all slaves, but people often don't see it because it's like everything else. It's a slow progression of liberties and freedom being taken away from people. So when people go to work and they're earning a living, they're living in a house, in a building, in a box basically. It's self-propelling or progressive imprisonment basically, because you can't really go anywhere. It's actually getting more and more like that now, because what with the depression and the way the world is collapsing in on itself, people are finding it impossible to feed themselves. So we are all slaves, but it's just a different level of slavery. I mean, we think about slavery as somebody down in a pit somewhere working away with an axe and a hammer and being whipped to death, you're whipping you. But they don't need whips anymore, let's face it. I mean, if you don't pay your bills, you go to jail. So it's the same thing, basically. Instead of being punished with a whip, you're being punished by incarceration. And you can't go anywhere you want indefinitely. So you go abroad, you go, say, on holiday, you get a visa. What's the visa for? That says that you are allowed to stay for so many days. But in the ancient times, going way back, you could go anywhere you wanted to go. So you were free, you were liberated back then, even though things were, you would get diseases and you would get sick and die of all sorts of other nasty things. But it seems like on one side of the story we have been liberated against certain diseases, but on the other side our liberties have been taken away. So it's like an exchange. It's an exchange, really. So you can get, we'll make that better for you, but at the same time now you have to have all this paperwork and all these taxes and passports and registration, and you can't drive a car without a license. You've got to pay your insurance and everything else. So I mean, you don't even own your car. It says that you're the registered keeper of the car, but it doesn't say you're the registered owner of the car. People don't see these little things, man. You've got to realise what they mean. And this is another thing that forces us to get rid of our cars at some point, is the fact that even if you're not driving it and it's parked on your driveway, you still have to pay insurance, you have to pay tax and everything else. And so people, they're encouraged to get rid of them at some point, because I suppose it's not the same in America though, because they still have a certain amount of liberty over in America, which we don't have over here. I mean, you see these cars that are up in these old barns that have been there for decades, but it's not the same over here. If you've got a car and it's now and you're registered to it, you're supposed to inform the DVLA, the Driver Vehicle and Licensing Centre, that it's off the road and that it's not actually in use, and you've got to keep telling them that every so often. I forgot what it was now because I don't have a car, so. But it changed recently anyway. But when you look at your life, when you look at this, everything that you have to do just to exist, we are slaves. But it's not, like I say, you're not being whipped. You're simply being punished in a different way. Everything you do in your life has got to conform to the system. And if you don't conform to the system, then you go to jail. Well, and then somebody said to me when I was talking in Second Life, I can't remember who it was now, but they said, "Oh, there's no slavery there." I'm thinking, oh God, shake my head. It's everywhere. The whole freaking world is slavery. It's everywhere, right? It's just that people don't recognise what it means anymore because it's all changed. I mean, the rules have changed. And when they don't need you anymore, when there's too many people, we get called useless eaters, and that's what the globalists call us now. They often refer to us as useless eaters because we're not being useful towards them. They've got other plans. They've got machines and robots and everything else that they want to use now to replace humanity. And people often ask the question, what are we going to do when the robots take over? Well, they've already taken over, for God's sake. They're already taking over. If you ever go to one of these big factories that make cars, you'll be lucky if you find one person in that factory. Just about everything's automated now. These food factories as well that produce food, they're usually all machines and automation. You might get one or two people in there, but ultimately machines have already taken over. I mean, most of these machines, these robots, if you like, they're not actually the robots that walk around on two legs. The robots that are hooked up to a big gangway thing, and they do what's the automated things. Each machine does a different task, but we are getting the robots on two legs as well, which will go around and basically replace us. So it's all happening now. I mean, look at Japan. They've got them already in these little, they're like trolley robots that roam around and they pick up the food, bring it to your table and deliver it. There seems to be some crazy problem when it comes to energy consumption. They have this huge issue about energy consumption for some reason, all this net zero nonsense, and that's been used as a wedge, an excuse to reduce the population. But it's really not really that at all. That's just an excuse, right? I mean, anyone can make an excuse about something, but they want to be able to control a minority of people, really. They don't want a huge population anymore. They want to have a small. It's getting like Logan's Run, basically. It's getting a bit like that movie show. I think it was I think they made a TV show of it as well. But it's getting like that. And that was what it was, actually. I said to, I was talking to somebody, I said, Logan's Run, actually, they were slaves. And they said they weren't slaves. They were slaves. You needed them to do menial tasks and functions, but when they get to a certain age, like 30, they had to be killed. Why? Possibly because as you get older, you get wiser, you get smarter, and you start to see the problems with everything. When you're younger, you don't really see these things. You're kind of naive. You know, you're still evolving, you're still growing, you're still learning the ropes, as they say. And it's when you get to a certain point, you start to question things. And it's when you start to question things that you become a problem. Oh, we don't want these people questioning what we're doing. Yeah, well, maybe we should get rid of them when they get to that age. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll get rid of them before when they start questioning things. Then they won't be a threat to us anymore. And that's kind of what they want to happen. So, anyway, another subject. I was trying to get this NV encoding thing to work on my computer to speed up using my NVIDIA card, but apparently it's not supported by my graphics driver software. So I'm still screwed. So I'm gonna have to figure out something else. I think it's something to do with my older graphics card. So I don't know. Oh, it finished encoding something. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try and test that out and do another one. Yeah. Anyway, see you later. I'm off. Bye.